to make sure that when we are in the classroom, we're seeing what's happening on the student level, and we're thinking about the changes that we want to like see happen. Start first with the student level, and then zoom back out to what does that mean that has to happen for this teacher, what does that mean has to happen for me in my own practice. And I think that I've seen you start to do some of that stuff, but I think even what you're saying with the like how do I like one, help the teacher to pull out where students aren't grasping the other parts of their vision and all that good stuff. Like I feel like we just need to spend a little bit more time seeing that stuff in the classroom together.
I feel like
pulling it out.
I constantly start at the student level, but it's sometimes very challenging, and it can be hard for them to see what's really happening in their classroom.
Yeah.
Or it's that no parts of the vision are happening right now. That is, are they not invested in what's happening because of the traits that's missing in order to do that, because of the, like, what's holding them back from, like, being there. And, like, sometimes it is that the academic is not at the level it needs to be, or that the behavior management, like, I feel like, I don't know, so, okay.
I mean, and I think about all the folks that have moved for you thus far this round, though. Like, when I think about the people, even if they've moved to just progress known at this point, or even if they've moved to having increased levels of rigor in their classroom,
Some of them
like,
have.
are they making the connections back to here's how this translates down to, like, a student level change? Like, because things are more rigorous, X things happening for students right now. Or because I know where my kids are right now, my students have this kind of different persona about them, or a different level of investment.
I think a lot of the rigor change I'm seeing is like how the teacher is planning, but it's not still
translating down to the student level.
Or it's like them not thinking their kids can do it. I know that sounds really bad, but it's come up with a lot of my teachers. Like, my kids can't do that. Like, I'm gonna do it for them.
Yeah. So we've like convinced core members that it's important, but they're still not, or maybe they're still wavering about whether or not it's important, but still not trickling down to the student level. Okay. I mean, I think that's the next big phase where we have to go, because ultimately we can do lots of things to change what's happening with the core member, but if it's ultimately not trickling down to their students, then
there's no point.
Then and I think one of the things that we have to figure out is how to start first with the students, so that the core members are seeing the change directly tied to them.
And that's what, like, doing that thing with Tamara yesterday about, like, even though it wasn't academic, because right now there's something.
But it was a student level change.
It was student level change. I can't work with her on math. We were deprioritizing math because she's an assessment this, like, in 2 days, and that doing old data isn't going to help change something in 2 days. And we don't have any new reading data because she hasn't read DRH. She's starting that tomorrow through next week. So what we did is, like, what do you want your students to be able to do? What will it look like when students are doing that? And then what strategies do you need to do in order to get that happen? How are you going to measure it? Like, that backwards planning that I think sometimes when people plan for math and reading or their subjects, backwards planning means, oh, my students need to be able to figure out a main idea, as opposed to my students need to be able to read a paragraph, pull out the most important things, like record that somewhere, and turn that into a main idea sentence. You know what I mean? Like, the actual what should students be doing. So, and I don't know if part of that is, like, they need professional development on it, or that, like, they're late, I don't want to say, but, like, they're lazy, or it takes a lot of time that they don't think they have time to do that it's just, oh, it's okay, I just know they need to do main idea. Because they're busy, right? And, like, planning, they don't plan as deeply. So.
I mean, and I also think, I don't know. I don't know how to have a full theory about why it's been so hard for them to start first with the student level, but I think sometimes it's on us.
No, I'm saying it's all these things. It's like, when I go into a class, I'm like, I'm struggling with management. Okay, well, let's fix it. And sometimes it's like how you're doing things as opposed to, like, the student outcome, right, or the change. So I think it's a mixture of things.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to close out this part of the conversation because I want to talk about the other things on our agenda, but I want to make sure we know next steps. So when we talk next, I'll follow up about the rest of these 2010 movers for the round, and whichever one of those dangling 309 movers that we have left. And then, and I know who these people are. And then I do think, and this might not be for our next check-in, but this is something I want you to be doing and preparing for maybe our first check-in in January. Like, I want you to finish this list for yourself of 09s and 010s who need to be in 6 solid buckets, so that when we start the next semester, we're really thinking about, okay, this is where I know I want them to be by the end of the year. And use the trajectory stuff that you're going to build over the next couple of weeks, how you're going to do their individual summer, like, not summer, but like individual break plans. Let's think about how we're going to move them closer towards their vision. and sort of start to put them into organize them into these buckets of where they need to be. And then the thing that you and I'll do just in our work together in the field this week is we'll continue to focus on like, how do we make sure we're forcing ourselves to start with a student level change and then use that to think back through the teacher level and PD and all that good stuff. Okay, cool. So those things sound right to you, or is there anything?
Yeah, these sound right.
All right, let's talk about Israel. So, why do you look at me like that?
Because I just found the camera. It took me that long to find the camera. I never looked that direction.
Yeah, I did not even know the camera was there the whole time.
Anyway, okay. Oh, before we close out into moving on to summer, 2 other things I just wanted to, I have these ideas, and maybe this is when we talk about my next check-in, it's on Monday, about,
we should
I think it's
make
on
it.
Monday, I think
Is
it's
it?
already planned for Monday,
Perfect.
about some, things I want to implement to move people next semester in an organized way.
Okay.
As opposed to I feel like I'm a little bit like, oh, I have to move this person, oh, I have to move this person, but like putting people in groups together
Okay.
a little bit, like actually working together on certain things. So, and that I wanna know, like, if on Monday, if I start doing some of those individualized plans for the winter, if we could talk about, sorry, I just wanna like set up what we could do next week, just so I can continue planning for it.
Yeah.
Kind of like the individual part of this next steps with the winter plans, actually having some of them available to show you on Monday.
Yes.
And kind of like what my targets would be for next round with Sig and Solid and the buckets, and then like things I'm thinking I wanna implement in order to like start with some of that right when we get back.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah,
Anyway,
all of those
okay.
things sound perfect, and I'm
Great,
glad
now
that
we
you
can close it
brought them up.